Hey guys, welcome back to the Cricket Weekly with Adam and Nabeel here on the Reverse Scoop podcast. And we are truly excited to be doing this first live stream on the pod with Adam. And we're going to be bringing this on weekly to you guys. This week we're discussing USA cricket, Major League Cricket, some other cricketing news. Adam, first of all, man, welcome on board. How are you doing? And let's get this thing rolling, man. It's been a long time coming.
It has been. I'm fabulous. Thank you for having me on, Nabeel. I'm super excited for this. Cricket in the USA is just on the rise, and since the World Cup, it's just been pandemonium since USA beat Pakistan. It's just been crazy. Everyone getting into cricket. As an Aussie living in America, up until that point, it had been like no one really cared about the cricket, and to see everyone come out, really getting involved, learning the game, getting the Americans involved. It's fabulous. Like for you and for me, we both grew up with cricket. It's just part of who we are. And both of us being in America, our goals are to educate and inspire and help, Americans get involved with the game. And it's been great to have, from the World Cup move into the MLC for the second year, and a lot more people interested in it due to the USA versus Pakistan upset, which got everyone super excited. So super happy to be here, and let's get going.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And we got a lot of news that happened during the major league. So let's start there, Adam. I know you've been doing a lot of content on TikTok, and if you guys are just figuring out who Adam is, he's a cricket fanatic from Australia, Australian born. As he said, we learned cricket, from our countries, and now we reside here in Connecticut, USA. Play for the same club, and we try to educate is the process here. So through Major League Cricket and the content that Adam's doing, make sure to check him out on his TikTok. Adam, if we can drop your link of TikTok and somewhere in the comments, just so the viewers can get to it, that would be good on this end. So I will get that done, or if you want to drop it in the comments, that'd be great.
Yeah, you can search Adam Bannon Cricket on TikTok. It'll come up. Or search just how to play cricket or Cricket Explained. You're going to see a lot of Cricket Explained videos. That's kind of how I blew up on TikTok over the past 2 months or so. Was that day that USA beat Pakistan. My phone was just going crazy with people talking about how it was the biggest upset ever. So I literally went to my whiteboard, turned my camera on, and just in the best way that I could, I just explained cricket with stick figures, and I edited it together, knowing how to edit, coming from my YouTube world, and then uploaded it. And it wasn't even like maybe an hour. Like it had already gone like to 50K in like an hour. It was so quick. Wow. And then by the end of the day, it had 300,000 or 400,000 by the first day, and then it hit 1 million within like 3 days or something. It was nuts. And so it was literally that day that I saw the numbers go up. I had the day off work, so I literally answered to everyone's comment. Like everyone commented questions. Oh, how does the run out work? What happens if the ball doesn't land on the pitch? How does it refer to how's it like baseball then cricket? And how does the overs work? Like it was the simplest things. Like how does the score work? What are the numbers I'm seeing on the screen? What happens when they put their arms out like this? Like it was so crazy. So I broke down every rule, and I posted I think 30 videos in like 3 days. And then I was just like every day I'm just going to keep making a different video and breaking down the World Cup with the highlights that are happening out of the World Cup and covering the games, the USA games. And USA did phenomenal in the World Cup, and I don't think anyone gave them a chance. None of the big nations gave them a chance. I don't think even USA gave themselves a chance. But they're not. It's not like the news was saying that they were a bunch of guys that had 9-to-5 jobs. Like Netravolka still works at Oracle, and they just kind of like walked out onto the field. Yeah. But they're legit cricketers. They most of them played under 19s for their country, or played second 11 or first 11 for their country, moved to the USA, eligible to play for the USA, not currently in their home nation side, so are eligible to play for the US, and they won. They beat Pakistan, and they put it to a bunch of other nations too. Like they put it to, I was big, like they were so close to beating South Africa. If Harmit Singh hits that ball for 6, like he was inches short of the ball going for 6, they would have been able to get home and win that game. Jones put on he scored like 94 against Canada, amazing innings. And then against India, Netravolta gets Kohli out for a duck. Like it was crazy. And all of that hype moved itself into the MLC. And the MLC was such a great tournament to have the USA cricketers get the experience from the big names in cricket like Stoinis, Smith, Head, all the Aussie guys, plus the guys from out of South Africa, a lot of South African teams like de Kock, Gleason, like they were able to, give a lot of insight and show a lot of experience to them. And it was a great tournament.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, just the growth that it provided, right? And the education. I mean, the education is the big aspect of Major League Cricket, and it's going to be growing, right? This season was great, as you mentioned. So many great players were here playing alongside USA cricketers that have outperformed and punched above their weight during the World Cup, and even leading up to the World Cup. So some players that you wanna bring up right now that were the highlight of the last 6 months or so, let's say, from the USA cricket perspective. Saurabh Netravalkar, you mentioned, got put on the map. Aaron Jones, another big name. But besides those two guys, do we see anybody else, coming to the fore, coming to the party for USA cricket?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, Netravalkar was the leading wicket taker in the MLC. Like, under 19s for India, probably would still play for India if he doesn't move to America. But I mean, India's stacked. So, I mean, even a second 11 Indian side can beat most nations. So, yeah, incredible there. Ali Khan, he did he had one of the best. It's my favorite bowling spell of the tournament against Texas. He ends up with 4 for 33 and gets 3 wickets in an over. I mean, that was my favorite moments. It turned the game for them. Like the Knight Riders weren't expected to beat Texas. LA ends up not even qualifying for the finals. But at that moment, I think it was like the second game of the tournament, for him to come out, represent USA, get 3 wickets in the over. It won them the game, and everyone was super excited down in Texas. That game was at Grand Prairie Stadium in Texas. It was electric, and another great bowler. Another good bowler, which kind of was surprising, was Kenjige. Like he didn't play the first couple of games, but they put him in for MI New York in the last few games, and he had a good couple wicket hauls, 2 wickets, 3 wickets in those last games as an off spinner. Very good. In the batting department, like Monak Patel, he batted very well. He got a couple of like a 48 and a 61. But with Patel, they shuffled him around the order a lot. He was opening for a couple of games. He was at 3 a couple of games. I'm big at him batting in at 4 and having like a little big heavy hitting up top. With the heavy hitting up top, Taylor is supposed to be our guy up top with the heavy hitting. And over the past few years, he has kind of been the guy with the most runs for the USA player with the most runs. But in the World Cup and then leading into MLC, his highest score has been 24, and he's been struggling at the top of the order. Hasn't been able to really, manufacture anything during the super overs. Hasn't been able to get going, and they're kind of able to undo him with the short ball a little bit. Yeah. So, yeah, I would like to see him actually move down the order. Come in at 6 or 7, kind of like a Stoinis, like just come in and hit late. Like Pollard, like come in late and we don't expect you to score runs early, but we score you to score like a quick fire 30 in the last couple of overs. You know what I mean? Like that's the thing where I'd like to put him. Harmit Singh also did well. Big fan of his bowling as an off spinner. And that's kind of like the bowling that really stood out for me. And as for the batting, I say Goose, but I think they like to pronounce it like Gauss, or like the South African. Yeah, with the South African, I call him Goose, with the South African, the G there. He batted really well for the Freedom. Had a couple good partnerships with Steve Smith. He did his work in there, and I feel like he was in a great. He probably learned the most and got the most value from the tournament. Being in the lineup like with Travis Head, Steve Smith, and Maxwell, him sitting in between, like that was their top four. And I said it before the tournament. I'm like, that's like an illegal top four. Yeah. Like I don't know how they afforded to have that top four, but it clearly worked for them. It was the best batting lineup in the MLC, and Goosey Glass got to be right there with it and supporting those three Australians, and he got to score some runs.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's he's a great player, and I think he's one for the future, and very talented, obviously. But a lot of these guys are imported players, right? And the challenge again is educating the locals here, as well as have a pipeline of talent that is homegrown here. And that's the little bit of a work that we've been doing here on the grassroots level to try and educate the audiences and try and make people aware about the game of cricket and how it's played, invite them out to our club games and things like that. So that's how we've approached taking the next step and trying to better the game. But what else can people do? Obviously, there's cricket lovers all over the States, right? But there's different interest in depending on where you're from. There's different cultures. So how do we unite this community? Because the goal should be at the end of the day to unite this cricket community in the States and have a vision to provide, to put out the best team possible for the cricket, right? So how do you suggest we achieve that?
So I think one of the big things is getting cricket recognized as a US sport. So like if you go to ESPN, you're going to see everything but cricket. So they're not covering like that. That's what makes sports popular, is like who's talking about it online and through ESPN and Fox and that kind of thing. It's not really brought up in the conversation, other than like it was never talked about ever in America until they beat Pakistan. But with the inclusion of the MLC, and it being more exposed, being on Willow TV, being on the Yes Network that was streaming it here in New York through Yes Network. Joan Boy did some crossover content with his baseball stuff. He has a big YouTube channel. He was on the Yes Network trying to get the baseball crossover. I think the biggest best way to target it is to get the baseball crowd, is move them into learning cricket and get them excited. Because the biggest thing that I noticed when coming to the US is Americans say that cricket's boring, it's slow, it's 5 days, it's this and it's that. It's like, well, that's not what T20 cricket is. T20 cricket is the answer to those things, it being slow and traditional or whatever. Yeah. Now we have a game where it's done in the same amount of time as a baseball game. And the baseball game, if you're looking at a good baseball game, maybe you get 5-6 home runs. In a cricket game, you're going to get 20-30 home runs, like sixes. And the best way that I described it online was really just comparing baseball and cricket. And like, if you want an exciting bat and ball game where something's happening every ball, there's big sixes or big home runs, and there's people throwing down the stumps, or people taking wickets, seeing the stumps fly everywhere. They have the flamethrowers going off in the crowd. They've got the LEDs and the lights in the stumps. It's exciting to watch. Once you learn the rules and once you kind of understand what's going on and you're kind of like invested in a team, then you can watch it and it's fun to watch, and it's something different than just watching the baseball. And I mean, baseball they're invested in 160, 170 games a year they're invested in watching, whereas something like the MLC just runs for like 5-6 weeks, and then it's done. So you can invest your time in those couple of weeks to watch it. Pick a team, watch it every couple of days, like a tournament style. Yeah. And then, you can go back to your baseball. So it's not going to cut into your baseball time. So I think that's the big thing, is just really getting the baseball crowd and the American fan aware of how to play the game and get them excited to watch it.
Yeah, I totally agree, man. And, one idea that I kind of had discussed in earlier episodes was, aligning with, these leagues, MLB, NFL, get these leagues behind and let them be invested into USA Cricket, because once they're going to be invested, they can actually help you set up an infrastructure because they already have all the resources, right? As long as these guys are invested into the process, they can see the money flow as long as you show them that vision. But I don't know
Yeah,
if there's any type of work that's done to even reach out to these, massive leagues to ask for help. Essentially, you ask for help and you say, hey, this is what we need help with to land the infrastructure. This is what we want to do, and can you come, support us? And you can be invested into the process and into the fundings. So everybody makes
yeah,
money, but the point is to grow the cricket, right? So
right.
there needs to be something done from that aspect. So, you know, besides that, obviously we're discussing Major League Cricket, and before we get to that, I want to pop up a quiz questions for our viewers. I know Adam and I have been talking just about a lot, so here's a quiz question for you guys, and we're gonna drop the answer shortly. Quiz question number 1: Out of My Comfort Zone is an autobiography of which former international cricketer? We're gonna drop this answer in a few minutes, so stay tuned and stick with us. And Adam, we've talked, USA cricketers and Major League Cricket a little bit. Washington Freedom, ended up winning this year, and obviously with Ricky Ponting as the head coach, he led that team. He built that team. So how do you see, him leading that particular franchise? Coaching, because I know Ricky Ponting doesn't do a lot of coaching, so this was like a one-off thing where we've actually seen him be part of, besides an IPL or this major league thing. Because I know he doesn't
Yeah,
do Australia or international cricket, but how do
yeah.
you see his performance as a head coach?
No, I think it's great. And I mean, I'm big on, like, I'm not set on always having a coaching people. Like, I was really big on Justin Langer. Like, Justin Langer did a fabulous job bringing back the Australian cricket team after they kind of fell off with the big scandal, the sandpaper gate and everything. And there's actually an amazing documentary. If you guys haven't seen it, it's called The Test. It's actually on Amazon Prime. You guys go watch it. Highly recommended. There's 3 seasons. The first season is the most extensive and the longest one, but it really dives into the turning around of Australian cricket. And Justin Langer is, he was one of the best Australian openers ever, and isn't really like a coach. He's a player. And like Ricky Ponting is now coaching for the Freedom. Like, I'm just big on players, ex-players coaching, because these players they're so high level, and it's not like you're teaching them anything they don't already know. Like, they know what to do. Like, Steve Smith's incredible captain. Even if they had no coach, let's just say Steve Smith goes out there and he's captain coach, like, they're still going to win. It's not like the coaching is going to make you score an extra 100 runs. Like, that's not happening. Like, the coaching is just basically prepping them for the game, getting them in the mindset. Maybe there's certain ways they attack the ball, and certain ways they attack the game that a coach can bring. But it's one of those sports where, unlike football, and this is something I'll bring up with people, is that cricket is a sport where the players on the field are determining their destiny. It's not the coaches. The coach is not actively calling plays like in football. He's not actively making pitching changes or bowling changes like in baseball. It's the team. It's the 11 guys on the field, and it's the captain, the vice captain, or like the keeper. One of those or 3 of those guys are basically making the game for them. They're deciding what happens on the field. And then while you're batting, it's like each batter is like now their own individual captain, and they are setting the pace. They're like, getting aggressive, like, setting the tone for how the game is played. And the coach is sitting back and watching. There's not much they can do. All they can do is sit back and watch the footage, and then make changes or point out things during training. Like, I would be, if I was the coach of a team, like, I would be looking at it as just like, how do you get out? How do you get out? Show me every time you've gotten out, every ball before you got out, and let's see, is there a trigger? Like, for example, most people don't know this, but the trigger for Ricky Ponting getting out is bowling at his legs. Bowling leg stump, full on leg stump early in his innings. Go back and look. He gets that LBW so many times, caught in the crease, LB, And once he can get through that first couple of overs, then he's hitting that ball well through to the leg side. But yeah, so I think it's great. And you think about they played the San Francisco Unicorns. First of all, I don't know if the chat. What do you think? Is it the wackiest name of all time or the best name of all time? The Unicorns. I don't know. When I told people that they're called the Unicorns, people were like, "Really? They call the Unicorns?" I'm like, "Yeah, they're called the Unicorns." But I think the Unicorns have the best merch. Have you seen the merch for the Unicorns? They have like a bucket hat with a unicorn on it. Like,
I know.
so it's so good. But so we have Shane Watson, another Australian cricketer. He's coaching. San Francisco, and again, it's like you're pulling in all these international players, and you're just guiding them. You're just guiding them. They know what they're doing. They're going to be grabbing experience from the USA players.
Yeah.
Going to be grabbing experience from the international players coming in, and then as the coach, again, you're just guiding them. The USA players. They don't have as much experience as the international players, but they've all played high level. They've played first-class cricket at high level. Yeah, so I think it's just great. I think it's great.
Yeah, they're all professionals, right? They're all professionals. They know how to go about their processes, right? They all have their processes. They know what to do to get that certain end result, what they're in the team for, to provide that end result, right? So I understand from that perspective, right? And the name Unicorn, I think it's has something to do with Silicon Valley, right? Silicon Valley being around there,
Is that
and
what it is?
having, all these ideas. I thought that's why they kind of came up with that type of a name, right?
I had no idea
So
because I mean, like
maybe it was overthinking, but hey, I mean,
Yeah.
it works. The merch is nice.
Yeah, because most of the teams obviously are mirroring the IPL. But then, like, we come up with the Orcas. Also, like, Orcas comes in at a solid number 2 for name. Like, the Seattle Orcas, that's just perfect. And then, like, the little orca with the bat, holding the bat. I'm like, I love that. That was so good.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's
then
great
you tell
branding.
people-
It's great branding.
Yeah.
I mean,
Go ahead.
no, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was like, because like the MI New York, like people will say, what's the New York's team's name? I'm like, it's called MI New York. It's called Mumbai Indians New York. They're like, what kind of a name
that's
is
the
that?
wackest
Like,
one.
I
This
don't know
definitely
what
has
to
to
tell
be
you.
the wackest one,
I don't know
man.
what to tell you. Yeah.
Oh man, they could have gone for like the New York Bombers or something. Like take a page from the Yankees books or something, man. Like
Yeah, it could have been
like do
could have been
something
the
cool. Like
Statue of Liberty, could have been the New York Liberty, or it could have been like
yeah, something.
Yeah. I don't know. But because like Washington went with
It's
freedom
funny.
being from DC, I'm like that's good.
Yeah, absolutely, man, absolutely. So
because you got like Texas.
let's drop that answer for these guys.
Go ahead,
Adam.
go ahead.
No, go ahead. I want to drop
like,
these answers for the viewers. And I don't know if you guys dropped any answers in the comments, but the question I brought up earlier was out of my comfort zone is an autobiography of which former international cricketer. The answer is Steve Vaugh, and I hope you guys, got this right. And, there's going to be another one coming up soon. We're going to be discussing a couple more things. So I'll drop another quiz question shortly. And we'll give you an overview of, some of the top highlights of the week as well, right at the end of the conversation. So USA players we've discussed most of the top players so far on this weekly, Adam, and we've discussed Major League Cricket. Anything else you want to talk about besides these two things, like international cricket, for example? I know there's Graham Thorpe passed away. It's a big news in the cricketing world, so a moment of silence for him there. We can take 5 seconds here and kind of just pay our respects. So we're gonna do it right now. Perfect. Thank you very much. So that was a moment of silence for Graham Thorpe, a legend in the game, and very, very sad news of his passing. Another update was the 6 from Jeffrey Vandersay during the India versus Sri Lanka second ODI, and India might be in danger of losing this bilateral ODI series after 27 years. So let's see what happens there.
On Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka is my second favorite nation because I'm super biased towards them. So I actually got to play in Sri Lanka when I was in high school. I got to be on a touring side in Sri Lanka, and I got to play at the big stadium in Kandy, the SSG. I think that's the stadium in Kandy, or Colombo. Yeah, Yeah. So, and I mean, like cricket, I don't know if you've played, I don't know if you've been overseas to play, Nabeel. I don't know if you've gone back to your home country to play, but I mean, over there, it's nuts. It's next level. I don't know how to explain it to an American. Like, no amount of baseball or football or anything compares to what it's like going to play cricket in the subcontinent. Like,
Yeah.
one of the craziest moments, or two crazy moments, we played at this one game, this one stadium, and literally, as far as I can see, it was just slums, just like tin roofs on like one side, and then like a huge grandstand on the other side. And then when we finished the game, like kids, just like hundreds of kids mobbing the ground, like wanting to come up and throw us a ball, like play cricket. It was crazy. And
Yeah.
then we like on one of these times in between traveling on the tour bus, we saw in just a park there was kids playing cricket, and I mean they had like handmade bats and handmade balls. They weren't like proper English willow or proper cricket balls.
Yeah.
And so we stopped the bus and we all get off and we asked. We had a translator with us. He was asking about, can we play? They're like, sure, let us play. So we started playing, and by the end of it, there would have been 200 or 300 people there. Like it was
Wow.
just like kids coming from all over. It was an incredible experience. Like we didn't speak the same language, but we spoke the
Yeah.
language of cricket. Like we all knew how to play. We all knew what was happening. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and it
Yeah.
was
Cricket
such a
unites,
beautiful
man.
thing.
That's why
Oh
it's
yeah,
so wonderful. When you go out to the subcontinent, it's like a religion out there, right? And people
oh
really, it's in
yeah,
the blood of kids and adults and grandparents and moms and sisters. Everybody's so involved with the game at some point, or at some level or another. That everybody's invested whenever either Sri Lanka's playing or Pakistan's playing or India's playing, or now you see Afghanistan and Nepal. Like these huge nations, like they're growing, man. Like within the cricketing world, right? Some of the biggest nations right now are these that are coming up. So that's because of the passion that's in that region, and it's easy for the cricketing world to see of
yeah,
how much cricket interest is out in that region.
yeah.
So let's do this. Let's bring up another quiz question for fans, and we'll drop the answer before signing off this conversation. And here is probably going to be a tough one. I don't know, but let's see. Cricket has only been featured in one of the Olympic Games. In which year did it feature? Can you guys
Really,
drop the answer
cricket
in
and the
the comments?
Olympics. Cricket has only featured in one Olympic Games. In which year was it? I don't even know this one. You got
I'll
me.
drop
But
the
speaking
answer shortly.
speaking so speaking about this, so the Olympics obviously is right now. Cricket isn't in the Olympics, and there are some sports in here that if cricket isn't in, like then these sports shouldn't be in. Or if we can put in skating, like skateboarding and BMX, so we can fit in cricket. Um, and one of the like, because they bring in rugby, right? But they bring in rugby sevens,
Yeah.
and the thing would be like if we were to bring in cricket into the Olympics, would we play a T20 tournament or would we play a Super Sixes tournament? So like, I got to play Super Sixes in Hong Kong, and if you don't know Super Sixes, guys, if you're watching, it's a 6 versus 6 team, and you play 5 overs each, and every fielder bowls 1 over except for the keeper. So everyone takes a turn bowling 1 over, and it's 6 aside. Keeper doesn't bowl. Most runs after 5 overs
Yeah.
wins. And that's like, and then you play like round robin, just like you would play Super Sevens. You play 2 or 3 games in one day. I think that's such a great way to introduce it into the Olympics
Absolutely.
because it'd be
Yeah.
so quick. It's not, you don't have to wait too long for it to happen, and you
Yeah.
can go to the stadium and watch 20 or so games in one day because it just rolls over so quick.
Yeah.
But talking about the stadium, that's looping back to like what we said earlier. One of the issues that we face here in the U.S. is stadiums for us to play cricket in. That's probably like the biggest thing. The infrastructure here isn't quite set up to play cricket. If you consider Australia or any of the big nations like England, South Africa,
Yeah.
cricket grounds, the big stadiums are cricket grounds. The SCG, the MCG, the Gabba, the Wacker, the Adelaide Oval, like Lords,
Yeah.
Edgbaston, like all the Trent Bridge, they're all cricket ovals that other people use for things. It's cricket. It's cricket. It's a cricket oval first. Whereas in America, we have football stadiums and baseball stadiums that are built for those, and then they get shared by other sports or like other events, because it's quite easy to put a soccer game on a football stadium, but not that easy to put a cricket pitch on a football stadium. But it's going to be kind of short on the sides. And then for baseball, the baseball stadium structure technically is only like the V. So there's no full 360 to put the crowd. So I know they've got the stadium in Morrisville in North Carolina. They've got the Grand Prairie Stadium, which is probably the biggest stadium that has the most special effects with the fireworks and everything during the MLC. And I believe they've approved to have the Seattle Stadium built. Yeah, so that's
that infrastructure is going to be huge, man. Once the groundwork starts to, build up, and it's going to obviously take some time, but once it starts to get there, I mean, I don't see why not. 2028 is when the Olympics is, right? So I don't see why they can't, have something like a Hong Kong Super 6 style, or I don't know if you remember double wicket tournament way back when in the 90s, where two guys used to two aside, and they would just have 9 or 11 fielders field on both sides. I don't know if you remember that.
What?
But,
no,
yeah. Look up double wicket tournament, and if not, we're definitely going to be talking about it in our next Cricket Weekly.
Sure. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So the answer to this question, what we have up here. You want to take a guess, Adam? Any guess? Just take a blind guess, man.
I'm gonna say something from the 80s.
The year is 1900, man.
Whoa! No way! Wow.
So that's the answer for this question. And guys, it was Adam. It was an amazing conversation today. Guys, if you want to support the channel, there's you can join our membership tiers for supporting youth cricket development and the nonprofit of New Milford Cricket Club. There's also a shop link in the description. You can purchase our merch. Make sure to check those out. Make sure to check out Adam's TikTok. We're going to be bringing you guys weekly cricket weekly. So drop some thoughts in the comments. What kind of things you guys would like to see? What kind of content you want to see Adam and I do kind of on this podcast? Would love to get your guys' take there. Besides that, Adam, any last words, man, before we call it off for the night?
It's been great. Thanks for having me on. I can't wait for next week. Let's go cricket.
Absolutely, man. Let's go cricket. Until next time, Nabeel Khan and Adam Bannon from the Reverse Scoop signing off. Have a great night, everyone.